Graphs of y equals sine of 2 pi x is translated down 5 and right 2. What does C for easy? Which means you are giving yourself some h and some k. So, what do you do? No, we're just writing it.
It's not like I put the
What do you do?
my whole life.
Which one's going to be your h? Which one's going to be your k? H is 2. Is it going to be a positive 2 or a negative 2? Positive 2. Why? You're moving, right. And then your k value is going to be?
Oh, but don't look at it.
What's the k value going to be?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. Why is it negative 5? So that. And then you fill in the blanks. Okay. So we already know that our a value is 1. We know our b value is 2 pi. And then we just have to move in the h and the k. So you get sine 2 pi x minus 2. Oops. Minus 5. Oh, that's right, because you write down other people's work. Or you wrote down your work someplace else. At least she's got her glasses, she can read it. No harassment. Yeah. Translated and reflected. Translated and reflected. What does it mean to reflect something over an axis? You turn it. Okay. What does a tangent graph look like? We actually they made a good joke about it during 12th hour. If it's positive, A is positive, you're dancing up. If A is negative, you're dancing down. You would appreciate it. You're a dancing person. Right?
No, I don't dance.
All right, are you pop?
No, I'm just like their manager. I just sit there.
Just like the April floors of the dance.
But if you were,
I'm like the water girl for the dance.
Yeah.
all right. But if you were on the dance
So
team,
April floors.
you would have appreciated my dance up, dance
Well, then
down.
maybe I'm not on the dance team because I don't appreciate it. I'm just kidding. It's kind of funny.
This is sad Murphy.
I hate alcohol. What's happy Murphy?
All the time.
No. Yes, you have. You commented one time because I.
Why do you hate acapella? You're good at it. You guys are good. Anyway, so we get to this. If you are translating left, remember when we talk about translation going left to right, they sometimes call that a phase shift. Okay. This textbook doesn't usually call it a phase shift, but I know in pre-calc they call it phase shift. And some of the problems I have for you guys here in a little bit also call it phase shift, just so you guys get the idea of the vocabulary. If it's moving left pi over 4, how do you write that as far as, is it x plus pi over 4 or is it going to be x minus pi over 4? It's going to be plus pi over 4. Because moving left means that your h value is going to be negative. You know, we all know that, right? Now, does it say it's being moved?
Wait, wouldn't the h value be positive?
It's moving left. When things move left, it means it's negative.
I know, but if it's the h, it's always x minus h.
Right. So,
So
but,
In the equation, it would be positive. It would
yeah,
be plus pi over.
I'm just listing what h is going to be. Because when I put, just like we can't say it, when we say x minus negative pi over 4, it becomes plus pi over 4.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, and I'm just, all I'm doing right now is just listing it. That's it. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Just listen. Is there any k, is there any vertical to this problem?
No.
No. But what does it mean to reflect? So think about this. When you have a tangent graph, for lack of a better idea, this one is moving and doing this somehow. If it reflects it, you're no longer dancing up, you're dancing down. That means this whole graph gets, watch this, you guys will love this. It gets flipped. Not drawn to scale. Rough sketch. Okay? So in order to flip the graph, not flip the bird or flip the finger or whatever you call it nowadays, what do we have to do to it? How do you change the direction of the graph? Okay, right, very good. So this just means by reflection here, that means your A value becomes negative. So your graph becomes y equals -5 tangent 4x plus pi over 4. Okay. Not too bad, is it? In case you guys ever wanted to look at these things in your calculator to see if you are getting the right idea of what the graph should be and things like that, do you know how to enter it into the y equals? Or better yet, let me ask you this. What mode do you think your calculator needs to be in? Radian or degrees? You want to be in radian mode to graph these. All right? Now, the other thing is, if you're going to put a sine or a cosine graph, let me open this up, just so you guys can, in case you ever have to.
Because you bullied me. You bullied me.
While this loads up for an hour and a half. I'm trying to get a picture of everybody. They just didn't want to get a picture.
You got one?
I probably have like 2 pictures of me and my brother, and they were like baby pictures. I mean, if one of us goes missing, my parents are just like, yeah, we'll grab this one and be like, looking for this kid, somewhere else.
You know what you should do for Halloween is create a milk crate, a milk carton, and walk around. Have you seen this child? It's just, they're going to be looking for your brother. I love how long it takes this thing to load. You think it by now would be.
And you should open all
You have
those
like a
like
twin brother?
before school even starts.
Hmm?
How old's your brother?
Hmm?
You have a twin
I'm a
brother?
twin.
Are you?
I'm actually an Irish triplet.
I didn't know that you have a twin.
So, my older brother isn't a full year older than me, so for like 2 weeks I'm a triplet, and then for the rest of that I'm a regular twin.
Why isn't this loading?
My cousins are triplets, 2 of them are identical, and they were born on leap day. But
So
my
they're really
brother-
only like 4?
So they're really only 4. They're 21, but they're 4 1/4.
They'll still get their license before you. She has a July birthday. It's gonna be a while.
You have a May birthday.
Yeah,
what are you
boy,
talking
chill.
about?
They all like.
Yeah, I had a July birthday too. It takes forever. It happens.
You have a July birthday?
I feel bad for like
When's
the
your
people
birthday?
like
27th.
Oh, mine's the
like
6th.
when he gets his like.
So you get your license before I do.
Like, I'll have mine for
Guys, at least I got my license before Murphy.
That's not an issue.
Yeah?
All right, this is really annoying.
Drive the golf cart.
What's your bones here?
That scared me.
Ah,
The truth. It's gone.
what'd you say, Sawyer?
You be able to drive the golf cart and he won't let you drove in.
Don't talk about it.
He won't let you.
Who?
All right, real quick. So if you're using your, if you ever want to look
I
at
drove
what,
it that day.
shh, guys, if you ever want to look at a graph on your calculator, you got to make sure you put it in radian mode. And then when you go to your y equals, watch what happens when you type in sine or cosine. As soon as you type in sine, what opens up? The parentheses. So in essence for us, if you start looking at how we write out sine, cosine, tangent graphs, since they're always in the form b times the quantity x minus h, what you have to do is you have to distribute your b value into the parentheses to make it work. All right. It's just really the only one, our textbook that uses the b value outside parentheses. When you get to pre-calc and things like that, that's when the b values hide within the parentheses and they place it in there instead. Okay, it's just a little bit different. Okay. So if you put that in, what was our equation we just had? Oop, wrong button. So if I want to type in -5 tangent 4 pi over this, blah, 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 it means I have to back up. And I have to hit the button that says -5 tangent, distribute my 4, so I'm going to get a 4x plus, what's 4 times pi over 4? Pi.
That was hard.
Sometimes math is.
Wait, where's the pi button?
Right here.
Oh.
Second pi. Now, watch what happens when you graph it. When you graph it, you're just going to get constant values of tangent because it's not going to just give you one single period value. So what you can do is that you can adjust your windows. If you want to adjust your window, you can adjust your window to put it in terms of pi. All right. So I can put I can adjust my window instead of putting that -5. I can actually type in negative pi, and then my next one would be pi. All right. And then and if you regraph it, it'll readjust the value. Obviously, my period that it's occurring in this case is going to be, since it's 4, that means your period value is going to be pi over 4. Does that make sense? So I can readjust that if I want. Oops, wrong button. I can literally type in, oops, sorry, wrong button, negative pi over 4, and leave that like that, and put that in again. See how it automatically recalculates it? It'll do that for you. It's kind of nice. One of the reasons why I'm showing you guys this is that when you get to some of the upper stake tests and stuff, you can just kind of get away with.
Pi over L4.
Oh, I'm surprised it actually worked. You can actually get away with a lot of times going through this stuff by looking at sine cosine graphs by just putting it in the calculator. If you know that you're throwing things into radian value and stuff like that, if you have to readjust your graphs to see, hey, did this work? It's a very, very easy thing to do just by messing with the calculator. And I know that we haven't been using the calculator at all in the past 3 weeks, really, when it comes to the graphing stuff. It's just one of those things I wanted to be able to show you that eventually, when you take those high stakes tests, especially, or even if you're final, there's a lot of stuff that you don't have to worry about because you've got a calculator.
That's what I thought was supposed to do.
What's that?
That's what I thought was supposed
All right, so maybe some problems. Yeah, but I feel like I should. Because that's the kind of guy that I am. And because the kind of guy that I am, I forgot to add a part to this, so I need to do 2 pages. So I apologize. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's the
Is
one.
Maddie okay?
Maddie has like this spiral thing.
Oh no.
Someplace you can like stop by, like before you have.
I think she's slowly down.
It's home, right? Okay, yeah, never mind.
She was like calling us one stop.
Oh, that's good.
Is this off?
I forgot to add, the photocopier didn't add this page in for you guys, so I apologize.
We have to grab it.
No, you just write down what it says.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Identify this, identify that.
That's
So this secondary sheet that I gave you guys, it was originally supposed to be on the back of the last page, but for some odd reason, it didn't copy. So I had already ran off all of the ones that were stapled, and I realized, oh, I want them to do this, and it didn't work, so I made more.
and staple them through.
Oh, God,
Why
no.
seconds?
That
Why
just
not?
sounds silly.
You could have gotten a student assistant or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want one of those.
You don't want one of those?
Oh, God, what do I need one
What?
for?
I don't know.
Like, I get
Help you crack jokes? Maybe there's what you gotta do.
It's got a point. So I want to look at the one I gave you where it says 4.5 pre-calc homework, because I think this is from pre-calc. I want to show you how that works.
Why do you have a lot more than 2, 3?
There it is.
Oh.
So what I want to do here real quick is just kind of give you guys an idea.
I like money.
Look at the difference between, on this page here, the difference between number 2 and number 3. Why is that line there, you think?
What line?
The line at 3. Yeah. Notice what that value here, what this does here in number 3, is that it's showing you how far up it's moved from the x-axis. That is your, how much it's moved up for k.
Oh.
All right. And then you still, from there, you have an amplitude that it goes up to and so on. Now, what happens here with number 2 is that it does not have that center line. But you do know that it's asking you, I believe it told you to write for number 2 as a cosine graph. So if it's a cosine graph, it starts at its a value, and it goes to the opposite of a. We okay with that? The distance between a and opposite a, the halfway point, is your k value. So how high up does this go? It goes up to 3, and it goes down to -1, which means what's halfway between 3 and -1? 1. If my halfway point is going to be at 1, that means that if I'm starting here, that's my k. This value, that is, it's what? A. How far is it from 1 to 3? 2.
Yeah.
So an a value of 2. Cosine starts at your a value, so it goes 2, 0, if you will, -2, 0, and 2. But in this case, those have all been shifted upwards. That's why it's at 3, 1, -1, 1, and 3 for your full oscillation of cosine. Next, you have to look at, it starts here and it ends here. That means from here to here is your period. In this example, your period is 2 pi. So if your period is 2 pi, what's your b value?
1.
1, very good. Has it shifted left or right? No. So is there an h value? No. Write the equation. That's what you do with these when you're given a graph.
Wait, can you go over how you did the A again?
Yeah, remember, a cosine graph always starts at its a value. It goes to 0, opposite of a, 0.
Oh, so it's at
and
3,
a.
-1, so then the only time they're going to match is at 2, pretty much? Because, like, if they move.
Yeah, because what happens here is that, remember, this value here is a, and this value here is -a.
Yeah.
So these distances are always going to be the same. So what I needed to do is figure out how far apart they are to start with, and it's 4. What happens halfway? 2. So this is 2 away, and this is 2 away. That's why I got the a value.
Okay.
All right, Trap, what do you got?
I'm confused, because like, I don't get like what you're finding. Are you just finding like part of that line?
What we're doing here is we're writing the graph for a cosine b x minus h plus k. We had to identify all the parts. the easiest thing to first figure out is what your K
Is
value.
phase shift?
Yeah, phase shift is your H. So the easiest thing to figure out, first of all, is that K value. The K value is always going to be the halfway point between your peak and your valley, always. All right, for sines and cosines. That distance from here to here is 4, which means halfway is 2. So to count upward, I go 1, 2. That puts me at 1. So that gives me a K value of 1.
So would it be like?
The next, give me 1 second. The next one is the A value. Since cosine starts at A, our A was positive because it started at, it went up 2 from that 0 line, if you will. That means your A value is 2. The B value occurs from period. When we got our period, we just looked at it in terms of where are the 2 peaks. Our 2 peaks in this case happen to end at 2 pi, so our B value was 1. There is no H value because it wasn't moved left or right. So there you have it. 2 cosine plus 1. And that's your graph. You're just piecing it together from a graph, okay? The rest of these, I think I threw in there a couple of tangents, a couple sines. I think there's 2 tangent, 2 cosine, 3 tangent, 3 cosine. Oh, oops. Apparently I put 4 tangents and 3 cosines and only 1 sine. So let's do this. Let's pick one of the tangents and make it a sine. So let's make the first one. Did you guys already start the first graph or no? Has anybody started the first graph? All right, let's make that. Did you?
I started writing everything out, but I started graph.
All right, make it a sine. Make the first one a sine. All right. Let's make this very first one where it says 4 tangent pi over or theta over 3.
How come there's no X?
It's theta.
It took me a while to figure that out too.
Wait,
The
so
old looking
it
thing.
really means
That's probably
Why
the
do
best
you
way I
do
could describe it.
I did. This is what this means. This is what the graph. This is what this thing did when I made problems.
I'm
X?
a
You can
quiz
just put
bogey
X,
theta
that's
or X.
confusing, okay.
It could be either.
What do you mean?
You want us to do all of the problems? Right?
Yeah, because we'll use this as kind of like our review stuff, that we'll go over all of this on Monday, and any lingering questions that we might have as far as graphing is concerned, because then we'll quiz out on the graphing stuff on Tuesday. Does that seem deal?
No.
So you got time right now to work through this. I'll just meander about and hopefully maybe
Can
help
you
you.
do number 1 with us?
We've never done like an X over 3.
Yeah.
Can we do this one?
Just do number 1.
That's-
Or do. Either way, I'm gonna get
Oh wait, yeah, we have.
show my work out again, or you could just write it out.
Is it plus something or minus something? I guess.
Minus 3 pi over 4.
All right, so we have A plus 4. I actually, first of all, I should probably rewrite this so that way I take that 1/3 out. Now, if I take the 1/3 out, excuse me, what you need to think about is 1/3 times something is going to equal 3/4, if you want, because you have to distribute that back in. So in the back of your mind, when you pull out a fraction, think of it this way: it's 1/3 times something is going to equal 3/4.
So you just do 3/4 divided by 1/3, which is 3/4 times 3.
Right. So what do you get?
You get 9/4.
Right.
9 pi over 4.
Yeah. So your phase shift here is just kind of crappy. Sorry. But it's just a fraction.
So,
So here, now we can label everything out. We have an A value of 4, a B value of 1/3, which means our period is going to be 2 pi divided by 1/3, otherwise known as 6 pi. Very good. All right. We have an H value of 9 pi over 4, and a K value of 1. So far, so good. I'm overextending to the right because I know I have to move it to the right. Just do that. I'm not really too worried about up because it's just going up once. It's not going to be that bad. So we know we're going to have a period of 6. So this will be a 3. This will be 3 pi over 2. And then this would be, what would that be, 4.5, so that would be 3 pi over 2, 6 pi over 2, and then it would be 9 pi over 2. Sign. Does sign start at 0 to start at your A? 0, good. Oh, our A value was 4, my bad. Add up a little bit there. So I'll go from 0 to 4 to 0 to negative 4 to 0. And now, when you get these really weird phase shifts, it's going to be a lot easier to list ordered pairs. It takes an extra second or two to do it, but whatever. Buongiorno! How are you? Good. Excellent doing it. So that's fun. Yeah, I'm good at it. I feel that many kids sometimes. So if I start listing out ordered pairs here, excuse me. Let's see, 0, 0. That was easy. 3 pi over 2, 4. 3 pi, 0. 9 pi over 2, negative 4. And 6 pi and 0. So with the phase shift, if you will, the H and your K, I gotta move each one of these to, I gotta add, what is it, 9 pi over 4, and then I have to add 1. So it's gonna be plus 9 pi over 4 and plus 1. So one of these columns is gonna be really, really, really easy. And one of these columns is gonna be kind of a pain. The one that's gonna be kind of a pain is gonna be 0 plus 1, 4, I'm just kidding, that's the easy one. So we have 9 pi over 4, 1. 3 pi over 3 halves is the same as 6 fourths. 6 plus 9 is, so you get 15 fourths. So the fractions look like they're going to be awful, but we try to keep it in terms of halvesies and fourths. And every once in a while you have a third here or there, but it's not going to be anything you're not going to be able to figure out. Okay. 3 is the same thing as 12 over 4. So 12 over 4 plus 9 over 4 is 21 over 4. $18 over 4 plus 9 over 4 is 27 over 4. And then the last one would be, what is it, 6, so that would be times 4 would be 20.
24.
20, yeah, 20, sorry, I was drawing like 4 times 6, 24 over 4. And that gives you 30, what is it, 33? And then this was -3, and this was 1. All right. Okay.
And that was
Oh, thank you. I forgot to put that one in. Now, it might not be a bad idea at this point then to restate where your breakpoints are going to be. Now we know that 33 pi over 4 is going to be the last point all the way out there. Are we okay with that? So we want to approximate here. 4 goes into 33 how many times? 8 and change, right? So if this is 6 pi, here would be 7 pi, here's 8 pi then. So I'm just moving it over, so I'll put it here at 33 pi over 4. And then I'm working backwards then. The 27/4, that would be, what is that, 6 and change? Okay, so I'll put it here, 6 and change, 27 pi over 4. The next one would be at 5 and change. Well, 5 and change is gonna be a little bit more than 9 pi over 2, isn't it? (15/4) is a little bit, is more than, it's more than 3, isn't it? So it's gonna be here. All I'm doing is kind of fudging it. I've got, this is the important stuff because you have it listed. Approximations in here. Right. Especially with the weird ones. So here's your 15. And the last one is going to be lined up in here somewhere, so we'll be at 9 pi over 4. And now we just know that this is going to be up at, I'm sorry. So this one starts at 1, goes to 5, back to 1, -3, back to 1. Yeah, close-ish. Yeah, they're a bit of a pain, but you get the idea. Okay? I'm hungry. You guys over here.
I think you should do the research stuff with graphs.
So,
That's way too hard.
The next one,
Mhm.
you take out
Even
the
on
three,
Minecraft.
and then everything.
That's it. I'm taking.
Well, think of it, it's 3, if you take out a 3, it's 3 times what gives you 2/3. So you basically divide the other side by 3. So you wind up with, take 2/3 times 1/3.
Isn't that just one? Oh wait, no. It's 2/3. Wait.
You know, if you weren't wearing Cardinal stuff, it might be easier.
It's 2 9s.
Exactly what I said.
See, once again, you and I agree on something.
But I haven't
It's rare.
lived here like my whole life.
I'm sorry about that.
You want us to
I'm joking. I don't. It doesn't matter that you're just Cardinals fan. I just thought I'd say because I heard him say it.
Yeah, he was like giving me crap. He was bullying me.
See, that's not nice. Harassment's okay, but bullying, no.
I feel the same thing.
So I'm like,